Florida Southwestern State College presents Vomit on the Page, Getting Your Thoughts on Paper. It's a pre-writing process, also called free writing. Vomit on the Page is designed as a tool to help students with writing their ideas on paper. The first thing to remember is that everything you write does not have to be perfect. This is where students get off track. Many students think that everything they write should be perfect. That's not true. You're only writing ideas. Ideas are meant to be developed. Look at it like this. Think of some of your great authors. Did Maya Angelou write a novel in a day? No. Neither should you write your research paper in a day. It takes time to develop an idea. It needs to be shaped into a coherent and organized piece of writing. It's writing without worrying about sentence structure, punctuation, organization, grammar, spelling. It's about getting your thoughts on paper without attention to spogs. You write ideas that come to your mind. You let the ideas flow. You give yourself a time frame of about 15 minutes to write. Take a break after you've written for 15 minutes. Take a short 5-minute break. After your break, read what you have written. It really is that easy. Tell yourself positive words of encouragement. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. After you've written your ideas, you want to think more deeply about what you have written and what it is you want to further develop. So, this is where the fun begins. You are the boss. You make the decisions. Do you see any good parts? Hey, look at those chunky nuggets I wrote. I'm going to keep those. Keep those chunky nuggets. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Keep those chunky nuggets. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Hey, keep that chunky nugget. Those chunky nuggets are your ideas. Keep that chunky nugget. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Keep that chunky nugget. Now, what do you do with the information you have written? Group the same kinds of nuggets, ideas together. This is called categorizing. What do I do with the other leftover chunky nuggets that don't seem to fit into a category? Can you think of some other information so those nuggets would fit into another category? If so, write it down. This is now a new category. If there are leftover nuggets that don't fit, you can delete them. Bye, chunky nugget. Maybe I'll see you some other time. It's now time to consider what you want to do with what you have written and how you want to clean it up. What I mean by cleaning up your writing is actually a process called editing. Editing is the process where SPOGS is applied. Do you remember the acronym? SPOGS: sentence structure, punctuation, organization, grammar, and spelling. You go over what you have written and go through the SPOGS checklist. I'm going to use that SPOGS checklist on a vomiting example of someone's thoughts on paper. The brain, masterful and unique, mental illness, chemicals impacted, bad and good, 1900s use electric shock therapy as a cure for brains. Dundite send messages, Einstein, great brain. Brian's full develop, age 25-26, cartoon Pinky in the brain, brain weight, how do Brian's function? Now apply SPOGS. Apply the first of the SPOGS, sentence structure. Sentence structure means making sense of what you have written. So write your information in complete sentences. As you do this, you may find yourself also applying the other SPOGS. That's okay. All corrections will be shown in blue. The brain is masterful and unique was made into a sentence, and the correct spelling of unique has been applied. There are many mental illnesses. This was also made into a sentence, and we changed illnesses. It was missing an L. Medications which use chemicals can impact mental illness, in both bad and good ways. This was made into a sentence. In the 1900s, they used electric shock therapy as a cure for mental illness. Therapy wasn't spelled correctly, so that has been changed. This has been made into a sentence. And the other change that has happened is previously it said as a cure for brains, and that's not correct. It's actually they use electric shock therapy as a cure for mental illness. Dendrites send messages in the brain. Dendrites was misspelled previously, and it didn't say brain, it said Brian, so that has also been changed. Einstein had a great brain. This has been made into a sentence, and Einstein is now spelled correctly. Brains fully develop at age 25, 26. Again, Brian's was made into brains, and full turned into fully. Brains weigh a lot was made into a sentence, and how do brains function was made into a question with, of course, the Brian's now a brain again. Let's look further at what is written. The brain is masterful and unique. This could be used in my introduction, so I'm going to save it. Now, you may find you don't use it later, but that's okay. There are many mental illnesses. Mental illnesses can be made into a category. Medications which use chemicals can impact mental illness in both bad and good ways. Medications can be made into a category. A subcategory can be the effects of those medications. In the 1900s, they used electric shock therapy as a cure for mental illness. I was thinking of throwing this chunky nugget out, but I could create a category about the history of mental health attitudes and treatment. Dendrites send messages in the brain. This can be a category about how brains function. Einstein had a great brain. Unless Einstein is important to the point of the paper, I would delete this chunky nugget. Brains fully develop at age 25, 26. This could be a category about brain development. Brains weigh a lot. How is this information important? Delete this chunky nugget. How do brains function? This is already a category, so we can delete this chunky nugget. Put all the information together to organize it. Organizing the categories: brain development function, dendrites, mental illnesses of the brain. You could have anxiety, depression, autism, schizophrenia. Maybe you want to have subcategories for this, and you don't want to go too broad. Medications to treat mental illness, effects of medications on the brain, mental health attitudes and treatment. You might want to include a time range, maybe from 1900 to the present. 1900s electric shock therapy. Now organize all the information into an outline. This is an outline example. We have our introduction, then we have our Roman numeral 1, our upper letter-case A, our number 1, our lowercase a, our lowercase b, and then that's a repeating pattern. Okay, so you notice we have Roman numeral 2, and it goes through everything, and then we have Roman numeral 3, which is our conclusion. Now the outline depth that you go into depends on the length of the paper that's assigned to you. But we're going to take the information that I have given as an example, and we're going to plug it in. The title is Brain Development and Mental Health. I decided on that since that is really what we're discussing. We have our introduction, which I'm not going to go into detail here. We're just putting in the outline. That Roman numeral 1 is brain development and function. That uppercase A, what are dendrites? The number 1, what dendrites do. That lowercase a, the importance of brain development and mental health wellness. The Roman numeral 2, mental health and attitudes. The 1900s to the present. That uppercase A, definition of mental wellness and illness. Number 1, different types of mental illnesses. A, medications and therapies to treat it. B, effects of medications and therapies. And the Roman numeral 3 is our conclusion. I just want to point out, if you're writing a one-page paper, you don't need to break down your outline into so many parts. Remember, what I'm providing is an example, and depending on the length of the requirement from your professor does depend on the length of your outline. Regardless of the paper's length, you are still following the same organizational rules, so be sure to adjust the outline. And this, remember, is to help you. It's to help you to take that information that you vomited on the page and put it into a cohesive outline so you can further develop your ideas. Now that you have seen an example, revisit what you have written and apply SPOGs. After that, organize your information. Once your information is organized, create an outline to help you further organize and develop your ideas for your paper. It is easier than you may think. Doing this will decrease the time you spend on writing. Organized information provides the roadmap of where you're going as the author. Now write your heart out and keep that chunky nugget. Keep that chunky nugget. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Keep that chunky nugget. Doo-doo. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the pre-writing process. Have a great day. Keep that chunky nugget. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Keep that chunky nugget. Bye-bye.